In this lesson, we're going to use the percent proportion to solve percent problems. Now we know that a proportion is two equal ratios. The first ratio in the percent proportion compares the part of the quantity to the whole of the quantity. The other ratio is the equivalent percent. You may also have heard part over whole as is over of. And the reason we also say that part over whole is over of is because when we talk, is often associated with the part and of is often associated with the whole. So you may say 2 pieces of pizza, which is the part, is 20% of the whole pizza. So there are 3 different types of percent problems because there's 3 different numbers that could be missing. So for example, you could be solving to find the part, the whole, or the percent itself. The 4th number in the percent proportion is always 100, since that's what percent means. Percent means per 100. So let's go back and we're going to go through each of the 3 types of problems. The first problem is where you find the percent. So for example, if the question says, what percent of 15 is $9? So we are going to start off here with our percent proportion. We know we have 4 quantities here, 4 numbers. The bottom number on the percent ratio is always going to be 100. And because we're looking for what percent, we actually don't know. That's going to be our variable. The last thing we need to do is figure out which is the part and which is the whole. And like we said, we can call this is over of. If you look here, of $15, what percent of $15? So our $15 is our whole, is $9, this is our part. So basically what this is asking is what percent of 15 is $9. Now that we have our proportion, we know that we can cross multiply here. We're going to get 15n is equal to 900. To solve for n, we're going to divide, draw our line, we're going to divide by 15 on both sides. You may use a calculator here for this. If we plug in 900 divided by 15, we're going to get 60. So our answer here, n is equal to 60. We're going to go back and up and read the problem. What percent of 15 is $9? So our answer is 60%. In our second type of problem, we're going to find the part. So in these types of problems, my pen here, we're going to find the part. That means we're going to be given the percent and we're going to be given the whole. So let's try an example. What number is 40% of 120? We're going to start here with our percent proportion. So we know we have 2 equivalent ratios. We also know that in our percent ratio, 100 is always the bottom number. And in this problem, we're given our percent of 40. So we are going to write our percentage on the numerator of the second ratio. We're not going to write the percent symbol because 40% is equal to 40 over 100. Now on our other side, we have is over of that you can use to try to guide you to find your part or your whole. And in this case, we're looking for a number that is 40% of 120. This of right here is going to indicate that our 120 is our whole, and we know here that in this we are looking for the part. I'm going to use P as part. Now that we have our proportion, we know how to solve it. We're going to cross multiply here. This is going to give us 100p equals 40 times 120. 40 times 120 will give us 4,800. To solve for p, or our part here, we're going to divide by 100 on both sides of our equation. Our hundreds are going to cancel out, and we're going to be left with p equals 48. This tells us that 48 is 40% of 120. And now for our last type of percent problem. It is when we're going to need to find the whole. In these types of problems, we're going to be given the part, and we're going to be given the percentage. So let's try an example. 18 is 25% of what number? And again, we're going to start off like we always do with our percent proportion. I always like to plug in my 100. It's always going to be the denominator of my percent ratio. In this problem, we're given the percentage, 25%. So again, I'm going to write 25 over 100 to equal 25% on my percent side of this proportion. Now what we're going to need to look for is our part and our whole. Again, you can think of this as your is over your of. 18 is 25% of what number? We have an is and we have an of. 18 is. This indicates to us that 18 is the part, and we're looking for the whole here. I'm going to use W as my variable for whole. So we have 18 over the whole is equal to 25 over 100. Now that we have our proportion set up, again we can cross multiply. This is going to give us 25W is equal to 1800. We're going to solve for W here. We are going to divide by 25 on both sides of our equation. The 25s on our left side are going to cancel out, and we're going to be left with W is equal to 1800 divided by 25 will give us 72. So looking back up at our problem, 18 is 25% of 72. So now that you have our three different types of problems, what I would like you to do is to try this problem on your own in your notes and be ready with an answer tomorrow in class. The sale price of a pair of sneakers is $51. This is 75% of the original price. What was the original price of the sneakers?